Welcome back to Fast Pace for Headspace, everybody. I'm your host, Dragodan, and coming up now we have the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Nitro Tracks run by quoooo. And I'm sure you've all been anticipating the result of the bid war to decide which character you are going to see. I can confirm that we are going to see Luigi, and it makes me real glad this is an online event. I only have to read the whas in the chat as opposed to hearing them from the audience. You know how that goes.
They can still post in chat.
We are going to have quoooo doing the run. How are you doing?
I am pretty good. How are you?
I am great, thank you. Looking forward to seeing this run. Mario Kart is always a fun time.
Hopefully. All right, well, with your approval, I will get started.
Absolutely, whenever you are ready.
Awesome. So we pick Waluigi. I'll talk about more of the character and the build and stuff, but obviously Waluigi won, so that's why we're picking him. Items also got met, so we'll be doing that with items, which reminds me... Double check. We'll be fine. Alright, the estimate should hopefully be 45 minutes, instead of 41 for no items. So we'll be doing the Nitro tracks, so that is the 4 cups up here, which were the new tracks added to Mario Kart 8. There's also the retro tracks, and then the DLC tracks. Sort of aren't DLC, but we'll explain that more later. But we'll get started, so that's 3, 2, 1, and go. Alright, so, Mario Kart. It's one of Nintendo's most sold series, so I hope everyone's at least seen or heard of it. Recently, actually, it's passed Mario Kart Wii in terms of sales, so that's pretty big. But other than that, it's also the Switch's most sold game. So I'd be surprised if it's anyone's first time seeing it, but I'll explain the basics regardless. Oops, small pass you can do there. So this game doesn't have any big skips. If you've seen a lot of Mario Kart 64 or Mario Kart Wii, you know, you can either go through walls or get saved by Lakitu and get spawned somewhere else in the track. None of that here, but there are a couple of non-intended shortcuts. They're just paths that you can take that's not on the road. For that, we actually do have to disable a setting, which is smart steering, which could be disabled anyways if you're playing, but that's a different story. Other than that, there's the classic drifting. Oops. Good moves there. Classic drifting. The longer you hold it, the bigger your drift is going to be. So it starts with, starts with yellow, and then goes blue, and then goes purple. Purple lasts the longest. And depending on the turn, I'll either aim for one of the 3. Normally it's the blue one, but on longer turns like this one, I can sort of squeeze out purple if I give myself enough room. Just like that, and it's very nice. The thing with boosts, though, and this applies to either mini turbos, or if I get mushrooms, or sometimes there are boost panels on the ground, or jumps, that's the other one, is that they don't stack. So if I have a shorter boost, let's say a blue mini turbo, and I have a mushroom, if I use the mushroom and then immediately let go of the mini turbo, my mushroom basically gets eaten up without any benefit. So there's sort of a bit of balancing almost aspect in when you want to use mini turbos. Here, for example, I would get a boost if I do a trick here, but keeping my purple mini turbo through the air just makes it effectively better. I get more of a boost from keeping the purple one than I would from just getting the trick. So you might see that here and there, but that was the first of 16 courses. Let's see, what else? Waluigi. So, the bid war was between 3 characters, which is Waluigi, DK, and Roy. Personally, Roy is my favorite, as you can see here. With my little Roy doll. He also doubles as a bit of a barrier to block the chair that has laundry on it that I was getting through earlier. But basically, each character has more or less individual stats, with exceptions. So those 3 have the same stats, and this game has 24 characters, somewhere around there. A lot of them are copies of each other stats-wise, but those 3 have the most favorable stats, quote-unquote, for what we're doing at least. So they're heavy characters, but not super heavies. So they maximize mostly speed, whereas the rest of our build, the Bitty Buggy and the Roller Wheels, maximize our acceleration. again, within reason, we do the best we can given what the parts give us. But for the most part, there are sort of 4 separate speed stats, which are on ground, in anti-gravity, which is sort of right now when the wheels are sort of turned to the side like that. In water, that was ridiculously lucky, alright. Never mind. In water or in the air. So our build just sort of balances out what's best for our particular thing. Speaking of speed though, you see coins everywhere rather. Coins are really important because they also boost your speed. So the more coins you have, the more speed you have, which is obviously good. But the only caveat is it doesn't boost your speed in the air. So whenever you see me with the glider, coins don't actually affect that speed. It only affects on ground, in water, or in anti-gravity. So there's a bit of a sweet spot. So if you have less than 7 coins, it's actually faster to be gliding. All right. But if you have more than 7 coins, blue shell to thunder, classic. If you have more than 7 coins, it's actually faster on the ground. Also, if there are any questions, I will do my best to look at chat, but not always possible. But there's a question. Who's the worst driver in terms of speed? So they did their best to balance this game. That's actually a very difficult question to answer. Technically, the baby characters have the lowest speed, but in compensation, they have the highest acceleration. So like Baby Mario, Baby Peach, etc. Baby Daisy and a BMW. But, and this is the big but, so we're obviously doing, a tracks run, so we're doing 16 courses. For time trials, the compositions can sort of differ. Sometimes you'll use like Dry Bowser, for example, who's Warrior, for example, as well, are the heaviest characters, so they have more speed. But some of them actually want the slower characters, like Baby Peach, for example, just because of the higher acceleration, because that's what the track demands for. So it's hard to say which is the slowest or worst character, because they all have their applications, depending on the course. And then, like there's the ones in the middle, sort of like, Yoshi, Pink Gold Peach. They're a lot more balanced in terms of acceleration to speed. Just for our purposes, we just want to max out acceleration because that's what the people that are really good at the game do, basically. And I'm not gonna lie, I follow what they do. So items, I guess that's the other thing I haven't spoken of. So, in first place, you're not getting any good items. You're mostly getting shells or bananas or coins. Coins are a bit interesting. So since Mario Kart 8, the one on the Wii U, in Deluxe they added a second item slot, so you can have 2 items. And we're actually going to, if we have coins, we're going to have them in the first slot. Just because that's a bit of our protection from Boo. Not from Thunder, though. I feel like I've been hit by Thunder twice per map here, and that's not promising for the rest of the run. Anyways, if I have coins in the first slot, then that's sort of my protection from Boo. If Boo ever comes to steal an item, it's going to steal my coins. But if I see a red shell coming, for example, I do have enough time to use my coins and then have my defense item in the back. That was a really good example of the coins. Great. And the important thing of that is that you can never, in this mode at least, have 2 sets of coins on you. If you do like bombs only, for example, that's possible sometimes. But you can't have 2 coins. So I keep coins in the front for the boos, and then I keep whatever in the back. Hopefully it's a sound box, because that can break blue shells as well. But those are also pretty rare in first place. Alright, Thwomp Ruins. This is one of the more technical courses, and one of my favorites to practice, because either the non-intended shortcuts or even the stuff at the end that's pretty fun. So here we can cut through the grass, and if we do it right, we can also get a trick off of that, and save a bit of time. If you don't get that trick, it actually breaks even with driving around, so it's not even that bad to go for if you can manage to do it pretty well. Also, the only exception to the coin rule, this is something that's like sort of debated on whether you should or shouldn't do, but if I ever get coins early enough in the map, I let that go a bit early, but worked out in the end. If I ever get coins early enough in the map, I do use them just because it does affect my acceleration, and I do want to go fast. I'm not trying to deceive you guys. We are going at a fast pace. Oops. Okay, so if I was gonna say if I tricked there, I was gonna fall into the void, but I ended up crashing anyways, so you know, eating our words. Alright, there's unfortunately no way to dodge blue shells in this game. It's not like, I mean, other games in the series you can dodge blue shells. I think Double Dash, for example, is the first one that comes to mind, but it's possible in other ones too. Okay. The red shell was coming for me, but the green shell hit me first. That was great. But yeah, no way to dodge blue shells other than the music boxes, unfortunately. Or if you can get like really creative with like, if you have a banana, you can throw it in front of you, and then you can hit your own banana, or you can hit someone else's banana, I guess. That also works too. So we'll see if that happens, but if not, jeez, okay, can't do the shortcut now. At least I didn't get hit by that one. So there are a few items, obviously we've seen them already, either the Thunder or the Bloopers that will sort of change your stats. Thunder obviously makes you small, but getting hit by the Blooper actually is a tiny bit beneficial. That path, actually, the one that I just took, only opens on the last lap. Getting hit by the Blooper, you actually go faster, but it also changes your grip, so it's a bit harder to get the good lines that you're going for. But you do go faster, so a bit of a trade-off in the end, sort of worth it. Lines in a racing game is sort of like the paths that you want to take. Obviously there's the roads, but you know, sometimes you want to be on the inside of a curve or on the outside to get a tighter curve or something like that. Do the red yeah, so whenever you have either a bomb or a blue shell, for example, something that makes you explode, basically, your character's sort of going to jump in the air, and that's a bit slower than getting hit by a banana, for example, where your character just sort of spins out, so it's better to get hit by the banana. You still lose 3 coins either way, but you definitely want the spin out. Oops, I think the piranha plant actually was a homie there and ate up the red shell. Gosh bless. These things happen. Alright, I normally run no items. It's a lot less BS, but items has its place. There's a lot more to sort of manage and think about, which does make it a bit more interesting, especially for marathon settings. People like, you know, items are sort of a huge part of Mario Kart, obviously. But yeah, I'm good without items usually for my personal runs. Oops. See if I... no. So you see me sort of... oops, missed it, that one. You see me going off the side of jumps sometimes. So again, going in the air, especially without the glider, is slower than driving on the ground, but I do still want the boost. So it's just better to go off the side of the ramp, get the boost, than it is just to drive beside it, but I don't want to go off the actual boost. With the exception of the one that was in the back of there, if you go off of that when you do activate the glider, and that's not something I want. Oops, alright, we'll have to waste our sound box here, unfortunately. And with my luck, we're probably going to get a blue shell before the end of the course. Oops. So again, I'm getting rid of that shell, for example, because I'm guaranteed either a shell or a banana or something good here. And the chances of getting blue here are not huge, but it's still a chance. No! Nice. Okay, I tried. You can go out of bounds and sort of hit that building. It's good times.
May I quickly jump in with a couple of announcements, please?
You're more than welcome to.
Alright, so as everyone knows, we met the first initial goal for the event of $3,000. Thank you all very much for the generosity. So now we're going to go above and beyond. We have a new milestone target of $3,600, which is going to be the SMRPG credits milestone. So if you'd like to see that, 3,600 is the target. We're also going to be opening up the final bid war, which will allow you to choose the file name that Ryan Ford will use during the Super Mario RPG run.
Pretty sure we'll be able to hit the goal. Oops. Oh no! Okay, so since I got hit by a red shell, you can actually jump off of that train and you can get a boost off of it, which is first of all, it looks cool. Second of all, is faster. This, along with a couple of other courses, this is a cycle-based course. So the trains are set. Oops, almost hit the side there. No, nah. All right. Tried to save it. Yeah, so the cycles are set. And again, this is one of the bigger, or the things that I prefer from no items, is that you don't get hit by red shells in no items. So you can make the cycles more consistently, and it's easier to practice and stuff. But I'll try to get one train. Well, there should be one at some point. Oh, like this one? Nope, missed it. We'll get him next time. I will show it off, even if it costs me first place. Maybe not. Oops. Ooh, okay. No! Bit of a gex there, but that's okay. It's literally like the skinniest object in the game, but I hit it twice, so you know. So one thing with bombs is the only dangerous item per se to have as a defense option. Because in 150cc, the bomb will explode and hit you, which is bad, because bombs are bad. So you do need to let it go just a tiny bit early to not get hit. Oops. I can make this one. No, I can't. I tried for the fans, it wasn't happening. So yeah, bombs are a bit rough in that sense, where they can explode behind you if a red shell's coming. You don't necessarily want to do that, so you need to finesse it a bit. That being said, though, there's one thing that I forgot to talk about, which was the difference between 150 and 200. So in the original Mario Kart 8 on Wii U, there was DLC added, which was the DLC cups I spoke about, but they also added 200cc. And that's a separate category. Obviously, you go a lot faster, but you know, 150 is more seen as like the classic runs, whereas 200 is seen more as the faster ones. Nice, okay. You do that. 250 is 200 is very fast, basically, is the short version of it. But they're seen as different categories. I prefer 150cc. It is sort of like items and no items. It's really up to preference. So if anyone's a fan of 200cc and they're like, I want to do this but in 200, more than welcome to. Alright, now through all odds, because of a more than shaky beginning, I do have a mushroom. And again, you don't normally get these in first place, so it's fairly rare you can actually use them, but each course does have a path where you want to take the mushroom. And I actually think it's the one coming up. I actually wasted it there, shoot. I don't know all the mushroom routes perfectly. You can go through this bookcase. I'm not sure which one's faster. We'll go with the one that I took, because that makes me look better, personally, but, you know. Alright, the boomerang's also rough to use. No, why? Getting bullied out here. Alright, so that turn I just took, there's something I need to mention about it, but it's been twice now that it hasn't gone right. Next course. Or no, next lap, for sure. So you can finesse just going between the hammer and the statue there. Oops. Couldn't dodge it in time. Oh my. Alright. This Twisted Mansion is not... I'm just gonna use it now. Is not going too well. So normally here, you want an orange miniature, but you also don't want to hit the wall. So I actually did it right there, which is good, because I historically miss it. Hitting the wall in this game, they sort of nerfed it a lot from a lot of previous games where you could sort of like bump it and it's fine. And same thing with off-roads. So if you ever have more than 2 wheels off of the road, the game will just kill your speed, and that's no fun. I think they learned their lesson after 6 iterations or 5 iterations of games that you would go off-roads to save a lot of time. I think, like, even without strats, there's 3 courses in Mario Kart 64 that you can just drive through the off-road, and it's faster than driving through the course. I think they sort of want to avoid that. Bit of an overkill, in my opinion, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, aesthetically, this is definitely a top 5 course, personally. Shy Guy Falls. It also has one of the hardest skips in the game. I will not be going for it, because it's hard. I'll point it out where it is, but yeah, we're not going for it here unless I get a mushroom. It's one of the non-intended shortcuts. To the right here, there's sort of 2 pillars. If you have a mushroom, you can go through it and there's a jump, but it's possible but very tight to make it on 150 without a mushroom. I don't think any of the RTA runners, even the ones that are on the top of the boards, actually go for that one. I might be mistaken, but it's very difficult. A bit more possible in 200, and obviously if you get a mushroom, it's intended that way, but we will not see it here, unfortunately. Instead, we're going to go through the cool tunnel. It's a combo, I swear. That's like the 3rd time it's been Thunder into Blue Shell. We're not even halfway done. Alright, so you see on that jump back there, I do a trick off the first one, but then I don't on the second one. And there's not a particular reason for that other than if you do, whenever you do a trick, so here I won't do a trick, I can still control myself in the air to a certain degree. If you do a trick, you're sort of locked into that direction. So if I do a trick on that second ramp, you basically aim straight for the wall and it slows you down a lot. It's better to just drift, get a good angle for the last little section, the next mushroom, and win. Instead of driving into a wall, which I'm actively avoiding. Alright, we're officially halfway through. Alright, fans of Super Mario Sunshine will like this course. It's Sunshine Airport, I guess updated since Mario was on Delfino Island in 2001. So one thing that I do try to point out whenever I play this game is that there's actually a lot of detail, especially in the backgrounds of a lot of the courses. So Toad's Harbor, for example, there was like a Statue of Liberty that looks like Peach. That was like that one here. I'm not sure if it's like a throwback or if that's what they were going for example, but to the right over here, there are big things that look like Koopa Troopas. I'm not sure if that's referencing Koopa Troopa Beach, which has been 2 games on N64 and then I think remade for the DS or something. But that course also had a big like rock formation of a Koopa Troopa, so I'm not sure if that's what they were going for, but in any case, it is a cute little touch. But if you don't like watching Waluigi, you can definitely look at the background. Usually it's pretty cool. Alright, good timing on that item. So I did mention this before, but back there was another example. I'll point it out again when we get back there on the next lap. But it's not always beneficial to do tricks off of ramps, especially depending on well, what's going on, the layout of the course or anything like that. So in that case in particular, there's a boost pad on the ground, and then there's the ramp. So if you trick off the ramp, then your boost from the boost pad just gets eaten up, and you don't really want to do that. Just because the boost from the boost pad lasts a lot longer than the one from the trick. So right here, and I'll actually hop onto the blue part, because then Oops. Not get that out early enough. I'll actually hop onto the blue part, it's just a bit faster. And then here, same thing, it's better to charge a mini turbo and use that in the air than it is just to use it on the ground and then use the trick again. So, small little time savers like that are sort of everywhere in this game. Racing games in particular, they're very, I don't know what's the right word for it, but basically like the boards are very condensed because the difference of a second is pretty significant in games like this. Not as much in items, just because it's very variable. More like time trials, for example, a second is huge. So small time savers like that, even though they might save only a couple of frames, do still matter quite a bit. Alright, and then something else that I'll be able to show off again when we get back there. Was that 2 red shells? Nope, we're good. Basically, you want to spend the least amount of time in the air. Whoops. 2, 3. No! Alright, you can get up to like 5 boosts off of that guy. You want to spend the least amount of time in the air. And one thing that you can sort of, not abuse, but abuse with that, is whenever you're on a jump, if you press the drift button, you do the trick, and that gives you a small boost. But you can press it as soon as halfway up the jump. So especially on the bigger jumps coming up, if I press the jump earlier, so around like... I'll show it again at next lap. Basically, if I press the jump in the middle of the ramp, I start the boost earlier, I start the jump earlier, so I land earlier, and I spend less time in the air, basically, is the short version of that. Let's not fall off with the dog out here. 2, 3... Nope. I didn't have any defense there. I thought I did. I guess there was the thunder, right? Alright. Not paying attention. Oops. Oops, alright, there's a lot of... Jesus, alright. Some gorge out here. I might not be able to show off the thing I was talking about. Come on, buddy. Okay. Basically, you can do the trick a lot sooner on the ramp than you might think, and that makes you land sooner. So overall, makes it you go a bit faster. I should have counted the thunders because this is actually like significantly worse than average. Oops! Oh my. We're getting bullied out here. We blocked one. Oh no! Alright, we're fine. That was actually okay. So that section, actually you just saw, I think that was Roy, do it. You can boost through that with a mushroom, but we got out of it pretty okay. Alright, this is one of my favorite tracks in the game, personally. Electrodome is pretty neat. It gives me good vibes, personally. And good music. And also the course is fun in general. And the dance and piranha plants. So another example of like ways to sort of preserve your speed. You see the blue things on the side. Might have missed them, I'll point them out next time. But there are some things when you're in anti-gravity that if you hit, it gives you a small boost. One of these things, for example, that I just missed again. Alright. Point it out next time. That's something else that you want to avoid if you have a purple mini turbo, for example, or you have a mushroom, for example, because that will just eat up the rest of your turbo and you won't get as big a boost as you should. So a lot of small things you want to avoid. Also, these coins, if you hit them in the right way, and I think the CPU has to hit them as well, but they actually can end up on this track, which is a bit funny. Like, they sort of stick to the gravity. No! There you go, those guys. Blue shells don't get rid of items per se, but if I was holding, in that case I was holding a banana, that banana will disappear. And then I had a bomb in the back, so at that point, just get rid of the bomb, because that's dangerous. I mean, again, for the off-road sections, as long as I have 2 wheels on the road, I'm fine. If I have 3 wheels on the off-road section, then the game's going to slow me down. So, you try to finesse it as much as possible, but definitely don't want to go off-road. First of all, you lose your speed, but second of all, if you're drifting, you lose your drift as well. Which most of the time, if you're that close to off-road, you're probably drifting. It's definitely a... Oh, no! The Piranha Plant was supposed to hit me. It would have been slightly faster. That was Electrodome. Top 5 courses easily.
Do you mind if I hop in with a couple of donations quickly?
I'll explain this, but then I'll give it over to you. So there's, I think, only 3 courses in this game that aren't actual courses. It's sort of like one long course. This is one of them. So it's not laps per se, but they're still broken up as laps. But you'll just see this course. It's Mount Wario. You go top to bottom. Also one of my top 5 courses. But yeah, Draco, whenever you're good, go for it.
Alright, thank you very much. We have some progress on the upcoming bid war for Kaze and the Wild Masks. To choose Kaze's scarf color, we previously had $5 for the Storm Blue Mask. That was overtaken with a $6 donation from first name username. I like it. And the text read... Apologies, let me just find this. There we go, thank you. We had black is the best scarf color. Let's see Kaze wear the shadow scarf and push it to $3,500. Let's push it to $3,600 since that's now the new milestone. And then that was overtaken immediately by Storm Blue again, which received an additional $1.31 from Anonymous. Thank you guys very much, and please keep them coming.
Thank you very much. Alright, normally that section with all the trees, getting through that without hitting them is a good feeling. That was taken away from me by a blue shell. These are the things you have to deal with. I know I mentioned this before, but whenever I have coins in the back, I just drop whatever item I have, if there's an item box. I just throw it there in the front, so if I get hit by Boo, I still have something to deal with red shells or something. Alright, great timing on that one. Thunder into blue shell. Good times. At this rate, that's going to happen, and I'm going to get like 8th place or something. Calling it. They're trying to thunder me off the side and then blue shell me, and it's going to be over. One of the rules for this category, I don't think I mentioned, but you do need to set the CPUs on hard. I'm not sure the history of that rule, but it's a thing you got to do. Probably just so you don't like sandbag on all of them. But I guess they expect you to be good enough that you can beat the hard CPUs. Or at least if you're not good enough, then you'll be in second place more easily, so you'll get like mushrooms and all that. Be a convenience thing too. But yeah, these guys are hard. You can actually just barely, I was actually too fast there to my normal standards, which I guess is a good thing. But normally, I personally aim it so that I can get to that boost with the electricity on it as the electricity's running out. Oops. So that electricity that we're going to see again pretty soon is on a cycle. So so that's something else that is, again, a bit more consistent in no items. But we haven't been hit by anything too bad yet. Yeah. No. No! What? Alright, it didn't shoot me off at least. I was going so slow that the thunder didn't send me off of the side. So I guess that's a good thing. And I do normally like this course. The music is a remix of something Garden Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy. But I'm starting to not feel it as much. I'm really saying I'm not feeling this course. That's what I'm saying. It's darn marathon luck. Nope. Alright. Actually don't know the cycles now just because we got bullied too hard. Please. Alright, we still made it on. I can still make the shortcut, right? Yeah, we're fine. Let's off the sign for good luck. Alright. We're living. 3 courses left. We're wrapping up. Hopefully, I don't know, I've been unlucky. I've been playing okay, though. So we're going to be underestimated, pretty sure. Although at this point, I probably shouldn't say that. We're going to get hit by all the blue shells, but you know. Bone Dry Dunes, this is bottom 3 courses, personally. Also very technical, even at the 150cc level. I say that as if 150cc isn't technical, but like even though you have the slower speeds, it's still difficult to make all the turns you need to do without hitting walls. Partially due to the fact that it's very not straight. So there's a lot of turns basically, and they're all pretty tight and pretty close together. But also the ground's not straight, so that does affect a few things. So for example, whenever you drift, it's whatever direction you're holding when you land, that's the direction you're going to drift. So if I'm going to drift to the right, and then I want to hold left, because I want a wider drift, but I start holding left too early because there's a slope, for example, and I start holding left when I would normally hit the ground, but since there was a dip in the ground, I start holding left earlier. Then you start drifting in the other direction, and that's just not a good time for anyone involved. Thunder into Blue Shell, let's go. 3 shots like number 5. Other than that, though, this course also has sand as one of the more primary terrain types. So besides roads, you know, there's ice, there's underwater sort of its own thing. But there's ice, there's sand, there's cheese for Cheeseland. Probably more I'm forgetting. But they sort of all have different mechanics, either with the grip, normally. And sand is just an awkward middle ground between road and ice, where it's like the worst of both worlds. So between this and Dry Desert, which is in the retro tracks, I think it's in the first cup actually, from Mario Kart DS. Sorry, Mario Kart Double Dash, there we go. I don't like sand. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Bottom 5 mechanics of the game. No bone. Dry bones. Dry bones out here. Objectively the word. Yeah, it is. Like, not even questionable. Like, bumpy terrain is one thing, which is not fun to deal with. Super like Ribbon Road, for example, if anyone knows these courses. Not too bad. The bumps are sort of big and like splayed out. Same thing with Rainbow Road N64. But when they're that close together, on sand, with super tight turns, yeah, it's a very difficult course. And that's at controllable speeds. But if you can't complain about the video game you play, what are you even doing? Oops. Exactly. The people know. Fellow sand haters in chat are all here. No, why? Can I do this? No, I can't. The banana went too far. I haven't done to show that off, actually. Hitting something to not get hit by the blue shell. We'll see. Oops, that's tight but possible. No! Alright, so I hit the off-road there just a tiny bit. And that's enough to, for the game to tell you that you're not going to have a good time. It's going to steal your mini turbo. There are stats for mini turbos, and there's like the amount of times you drifted versus the amount of times you actually mini turboed, and you know, every time I miss something, it hurts the stats. Can't say I'm too pleased, but these are the things you deal with. And now all my cycles are off, and I don't know how to play the game anymore. But we're all good. Still living. No! Can't do this with a green shell unless I angle this like I'm a PhD major in math. You're not out here trying to do trigonometry. Yo, any road enjoyers in chat? I'll accept ice as like a substitute answer for some reason. But yeah, no sand. We're on the final track. This is the new Rainbow Road. The newest one, at least. It's a pretty neat one. Very, I mean, they're all in space, I guess, but this one emphasizes the rainbow. Alright, so here, usually the red slows you down, but if I can actually just finesse my way onto the border like that, I'm not on the red section, so it doesn't slow me down, and I'm still taking the best line I can. And then up here's a little, not like skip, but one of the intended shortcuts, pretty sure. Maybe. They did leave it in a pretty obvious way. But you can sort of just jump off and land on the other parts of the track, and that's a bit faster. And it looks really cool. And it's really easy to do as well. Like, if anyone practices for like 15 minutes, you'll be able to do it like pretty consistently. Assuming you don't get hit by thunder. Alright, this time on the green one. Oops, it jumps in the way though. We're going to stay on the green, because that does give us a boost. And the right track is faster just because of the skip. Technically, you could extend the skip to jump off the second part and land on the first part again. Actually, you know what? Might as well show it off. You can sort of just like drive off of here and not do that. You aim a bit more to the right. No one does that though, because that is slower than just doing the skip. But you guys get the essence. We'll do the skip properly next time. And end on a high note. Hopefully. Honestly, I'm gonna say that, and then I'm gonna get hit by about everything I can. I don't think, though, despite everything, I don't think I got hit into falling off the course. So I'm gonna count that as a win. And our cycles are so bad that we ended up on the green one again. We're getting bullied. Alright, time is ending within the next 15 or so seconds. When I cross the finish line for the last time, I'll call it out. But that is coming up. I'll actually just take the boost just to get back to top speed. And that is time. So that was Nitro Tracks, 150cc. Again, there's categories for items, no items, 250cc, no, 200cc, 150cc. There's whatever you want in this game, you can run it. There's also miscellaneous categories for like mushrooms only, that's a fun one. If anyone wants to play the game, super easy to get into. It's a driving game, you just play the game like you normally do, and eventually you get better with practice, and very, very easy game to get into. the whole series actually, so would recommend if anyone has the game. Honestly, not too bad though for the showcase. I think I did pretty okay. Hopefully you guys enjoyed.
I certainly enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Any last shout-outs or comments you'd like to give?
The community is really friendly. Go talk to them if you want to. Thanks for everyone for watching. You guys were awesome. The rest of the event also has been pretty awesome, so if you guys want to stick around, I think there's 4 pretty solid runs coming up. I think there was 4, if I counted right. If you guys want to check me out, I haven't streamed in a minute, but I do stream once in a while. Twitch.tv/quoooo, it's somewhere on the layout, I think right under me. And yeah, thank you for having me, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a good Sunday.
Thank you very much for that run, quoooo. And next up, we are going to have Hollow Knight by Blind Death Ref. So we're going to get set up for that, and we will catch you very shortly.